guy. His name's John Lash, and he's got basically, most of the stuff I know about it, or what I talk about, as I got from him, man. But he's the one that really has a lot of experience. He's done a lot of research. And he's like I was listening to more of him the other day, and he was talking about how someone asked him, so what's the origins? Maybe that's something that need to go more into. What's the origins of the archons? He says, basically about the origins of the archons. Well, like I said in my other video, he came out that Sophia, who was called an aeon, I guess is the name of the entity they give it in Gnosticism, which, by the way, there is text on Gnosticism. If you care to look it up, I'm not sure, but maybe I'll look it up and put a link to it. But, there are texts out there that he talks about the Gnostics, and basically they talk about how the entity Sophia was an aeon, they called it. I'm pretty sure it was called an aeon, A-E-O-N. And those were the name of the entities, powerful entities that did all the experiments, and basically their experiments created all the solar systems and galaxies and other things around, well, not galaxies, but the outer planets and stuff in Gnosticism were created by the experiments of the aeons. So when she came out of the center of the galaxy, the aeon Sophia, and created the Earth, well, she became the Earth, and the archons followed her. Well, before she became the Earth, she was here for a long time before the Earth even started. The archons were there, tormenting her the whole time. They were like insects. That's what I was into. Archons were like insects, and they were feeding off her energy, basically. Well, they didn't really bother her that much, because I was understanding. She got sick of them, so she gave them some kind of form and function, because they have no form and function of their own. So she gave them this form and function in order to keep them occupied. So that's how the solar system got created. And so the archons went out and created the solar system, these insect entities, like a horde of locusts, basically, and just creeping around. Finally she sent them out to go keep them occupied. So that's how the solar system got created. But then the most powerful one became Saturn, and all the planets, that's what the archons dwell. They created all that. It was theirs. But then Sophia became the Earth, and now the humans have to deal with, the archon, the cube, basically, the Saturnian cube, in order to escape this reality, basically. So yeah, that's kind of the idea how the archons became from just dumb, stupid, knowing things into because they have no ability to create anything. They just what's already created and twisted around is the idea. And so Sophia gave them that to keep them occupied. But they found out, the humans, because they are basically parasitic entities. Mind parasites is what the idea is, and so they can project themselves upon humans. So there's a lot of stuff they can do with humans. They got a lot of control, power over humans if you let them. I guess you don't let them, they can have more power over you. I think something like that is going on. But yeah, that's kind of the idea of how the archons got here. It's a pretty interesting story, really. Yeah, I was just thinking about all this stuff yesterday when I was driving home, listening to some Metallica, the song Harvester of Sorrow, instantly relates, that's exactly what they were singing about. That's what that song is totally about, the Archons. It's just, it's so, it was like about the Archons, written by the Archons, Awesome song, man. It's another example of it. It's everywhere. Metallica is so full of a lot of, they were so onto all this stuff so long ago, They were singing about this stuff, I was listening to it all my life as a kid. Listening to bands like Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax, and they were all singing about all these freaking heavy, deep freaking paradoxes, shit, like the Twilight Zone. Back when I was a kid, I was raised on this shit. It's amazing. Now that I'm figuring, kind of starting to figure out what it is. Wow, Metallica is so into it. Even way, I was like, how could these guys that were, how could this guy that was 20 years old, or 18 years old, how do you have so much insight into the world, How do you know all this stuff at such a young age? It's kind of interesting. Did Hetfield come up with all that on his own? Did all these thoughts out of his own head? James Hetfield and Metallica, at the age of 18 and 20, early 20s, he was at the head of the rest of the world, knowing what I know today, that it took me all these years to figure out, even though he was telling me about it 25, 30 years ago. What a mind blow, huh? One good example is the movie Predator. Right? It was like 3 movies. Predator. These things came down and hunted humans. Like they had to find the baddest. Basically, they're preying on humans. And the idea was the one with Danny Glover. And he talks about how these things, they're attracted to war zones and conflict. And it's another example of the outside entity feeding off a man's negative energy. It's just all over the place. I could find so many examples of it in sci-fi and action, mostly sci-fi movies, right? I think a good chunk of your sci-fi movie is based on that very theme. So yeah, that's kind of like a little bit more on the history of the Archons, but also the Gnostics, who were they, There's like, I keep mentioning these Gnostics. Well, the word Gnostic, I guess, what it means is, to know. So basically, I guess they were like the old ones that, the old wise men, you might say. I don't know. Maybe they were like the Druids, or something like that. But they were definitely wiped out. Not even just, marginalized and pushed down over as the modern religion took over. These Gnostics had no use for their ideas, right? I think that's what happened. Most of them was like shunned out of existence, basically. There are the writings of them that still that's something that we found. It's fascinating, and that's what one of the most fascinating things about it is that it's totally buried, you know. There's no, they don't want you to know about it. Like, a lot of stuff that we're talking about is just, you don't hear about it on the TV, or that's where most people get their, if it's not on the TV to most Americans, it just don't exist. Which is nothing but what these motherfuckers want you to know. And I've spoken to a few real people about this, and you know, they kind of look like you're fucking lost your mind, really. And you're like, when you tell them, no, dude, I'm being serious. I believe this. They're like, you know, they look at you like you just fucking fell off your rocker, man. Humanity can overcome and defeat the Archons. Or is it only can be done on a personal level? Or can it be done at all? Sure. I know it can be done on a personal level. I'm counting on that much at least.